First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not letting my father into my flat so he slept in his car? I haven't had contact with him since my early childhood. After the separation of my parents, he had a right to see me every second weekend, but he often forgot me or brought me back early because he had other plans, other women, alcohol. After a while, a court ruled in my mother's favor because she couldn't see me being sad and feeling rejected 2 times a month, and we didn't have any contact since then. His drinking problem was also a reason for the court. I moved really far away from home to study. Last week, my father knocked on my door. I have contact with some of his sisters, my aunts, and wrote them cards so he got my address from them. When I opened, I felt so shocked, sad, and angry. He wanted to talk to me, and he pushed himself into my flat. I told him that I don't want him here, and that I don't want to talk to him right now. My boyfriend came from our living room, and he saw how stressed I felt. He told my father to leave our flat because he was not invited. I said to him that he should write me a letter if he has something to say, and I will read it. He said that he drove all the way to my flat, 7 hours from my hometown, and because of the pandemic, he can't stay at a hotel. I said that he should have thought about it before not expecting to sleep by me. I closed the door. He kept yelling and ringing, but I didn't answer or open the door. My aunts called me angrily 2 days after because he had to sleep in his car. They called me an a-hole for not allowing him in my flat and that I didn't talk to him. I'm not sure if I'm an a-hole. As a child, everything I ever wanted was a caring dad. But as an adult, I learned very painful to give that dream up and be happy without a father. It was too much seeing him without any warning. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Him blowing up and hammering on your door is all I needed to know for that judgment. I would not want some aggressive bloke I don't know stay in my house, even if I did own some of his jeans. It's also ridiculous to drive 7 hours to see someone without calling/writing first, especially because of the COVID. Even if you are good friends with a person, it's common decency not to foist yourself on someone else. He needs to grow up. This, not a a-hole. He is literally a stranger. A strange man who is aggressive and pushed his way uninvited into your home. And you're supposed to let him sleep in it while you're sleeping and vulnerable? Hell no, you're not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You don't owe him anything. He clearly knew you didn't want to see him, or he'd have given you warning he was coming. Exactly what I was thinking. If he really wanted to talk to you and mend things, he would have contacted you before appearing on your doorstep unannounced, Dopey. That basically tells me that he didn't have good intentions, and the way he reacted to you not allowing him in your flat just cements that. I don't know what he wanted, but I'm pretty sure he didn't have your best interest at heart. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. No one could just show up out of nowhere and expect to sleep in your place. Also, why did he contact you? Seems like he wanted something from you. I'm glad your boyfriend was there to help you and you stood strong. Good luck, and don't let people get to you and try to guilt trip you. There's COVID, I can't sleep in a hotel. Yet drives 7 hours cross-country at the drop of a hat. He definitely had some ulterior motive. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not asking my dad to let my stepsister stay for a few nights? I, 15 female, have divorced parents. My mom is remarried and her husband has a daughter the same age as me, and we've been a step-family since we were both 7, but we have also never been close. Not even a little. The only time she ever wants me is when she wants some of my stuff, and I don't really want her for anything. So even though we both live in the same house sometimes, she lives with her dad and mom while I split time between my parents. We're not really in each other's lives, unless she wants something. Anyway, my mom and her husband were traveling out of state last month for a few days to see his best friend who was terminally ill. They didn't want to take my stepsister with because she was getting some in-person tutoring as well as distance schooling, and so they wanted my dad to take her for the few days. My mom asked me to ask him, and I told her no. This pissed her off, and when she asked him, he told her no as well. She asked me again and again, so I told her I wouldn't ask and why I wouldn't ask. My mom lectured me about the importance of family and stuff, and then she ended up getting a friend of hers to take her in for the few days. But she and her husband were super pissed because then they of course had to pay. Which I think sucks, that they expect my dad to take in some strange teenager for nothing and open his house to a random tutor during COVID. But you know, it's still an issue. And my mom told me whatever issues we have, we're family. I told her she, stepsister, and I do not like each other, nor care about each other. And that does not make a family. and that trying to force the issue or pretend things are different are not going to change anything. My mom said one day I might need her, and I told my mom I have so many people I would turn to, and that even if I didn't have them, I do not see myself ever looking to stepsister for anything. She then goes off that it's a horrible thing to say, and I was a selfish brat for not asking my dad to take her when things are already so uncertain with COVID and her dad's friend dying. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, and kudos on being able to express that so clearly to your mom. And why can't a 15-year-old stay home alone for a few days? Not the a-hole at all. Your stepfather and stepsister were your mother's choice, not yours, and most definitely not your father's. You and your stepsister are not close and never have been. Your mother expecting you to play a happy family because it makes your life easier is ridiculous. It was wildly inappropriate and entitled for her to involve your father, who has no responsibility for your stepsister. From where does she get the balls you insist that you ask your father for this ridiculous favor and try to make it seem like you're in the wrong? Did she really think that her ex would open his home to her stepchild and do so without payment? Your mother is dead wrong here. Apparently, she has this idea that because her stepdaughter and I are sisters, that my dad should do his best to be open and involved in her life too. Which is so damn weird to me. But hey ho, maybe my dad should be paying support for her or something in my mom's mind. There was a similar issue on my 10th birthday because my dad had me that weekend that day, and he was taking me and my two best friends out, and my mom wanted him to take her too, and pay for her. That is ridiculous. Your father has nothing to do with her new family, and she needs to stop trying to make her ex responsible for her stepdaughter. She also needs to stop putting you in the middle and stop trying to force a relationship between you and your stepsister. Good luck. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my adult cousin that his biological father was a sperm donor when his parents would not? My cousin, Pete, is 10 years younger than me and is my stepdad's brother's son. He moved to college in the same city in which I was living. Pete received a full scholarship to an Ivy League school and was the first in his immediate family to go to college, but he had liberal politics and studied evolutionary biology, which was threatening to the conservative evangelical Christians who raised him. He received no financial support from them and argued with them or did speak to them for months. At the end of his first year, Pete asked to stay with me and my husband during the summer while Pete worked. He stayed that summer, and the next two too. We became very close. At the start of his junior year, Pete needed more money and became a sperm donor. He called his parents asking for family medical history. He told them why he was asking. They were unhappy, but did not dissuade him. During the next year, Pete had bad fights with his father. Pete's father asked him for money. Pete's parents gave their own savings to the church. My stepdad thought that Pete's dad had undiagnosed manic depression. His wife, Pete's mother, was passive and did not intervene in how her husband treated their son. I did not know Pete's parents well. Interactions I had with them were restrained because of his father's open judgments on others. Pete was increasingly distraught about his family. Connection with his father was always hard. He is intelligent, well-read, well-traveled, multilingual, and open-minded. His father is not. Pete told me that he was ready to stop talking with his father. At the end of the third summer when he lived with us, he came back upset from his annual short trip back home. His father was so mad about Pete's application to an evolutionary biology PhD program that he had thrown a Bible. In the year prior, my stepdad told me that Pete was donor conceived. Only a few in the family knew, and his parents didn't want him to know. My stepdad's brother had an irreversible vasectomy after an earlier marriage. His mom wanted a child, so they used a sperm donor, and Pete is his mom's only child. I told him, and he was elated. When he called his parents, they denied it before admitting it. His parents were very angry with me for telling him, but I believed that Pete should know true familial medical history. I also believed that this information might explain his emotional distance from his father in a way that could be healing. Pete was grateful that I told him, but his parents hate me for it. He found his daughter's family through genetic testing, and he has formed a close bond with his biological family. The shared interests and attitudes between Pete and his paternal biological family are much greater than those between Pete and the family of the man who raised him. Now for the comments. I say not the a-hole, especially in light of his parents' antagonistic attitude towards his education and the possibility of mental instability. A normal person would be concerned about the possibility of having a genetic mental illness and want to be aware of the possibility of inheriting it. You've given your cousin peace of mind regarding mental health/medical history, and he has a right to know, in my opinion. The relationship is not the reason Pete needs to know. Medical history is. Everyone has an absolute right to know their medical history as much as possible. Not the a-hole. It wasn't exactly your place to tell him, but given the circumstances, I don't feel like it is appropriate to call you an a-hole. His parents are horrible, especially for not telling him his medical history, so I think you get a pass because of that. I also feel your justifications for their strained relationships don't really line up. The parents are just a-holes. Not the a-hole. I'm donor-conceived and was lied to about it. If you had continued to lie, you would have been a party to it. He would have found out eventually, by his blood test, seeing an eye color chart, doing a DNA test for fun, etc. Not to mention the fact that so many people knew and were lying to him. Good for you for not being a party to that. I'm donor-conceived too. It's so rare to find another one of us in the wild. Added to add, I've always known too. My mom was a single mother, so the who's my dad questions came very early for me. For the last story. Am I the a-hole for yelling at my husband, then leaving him at the clinic after his prank? Me, female 28, and my husband, male 34, have been married for a year. Before I met him, I got a dog named Ollie, a German Shepherd, that was originally my sister's, but she passed away, and I immediately took him to live with me. My husband adores Ollie, and he sometimes jokes that he's married to me only because of Ollie. He likes making jokes and doing pranks, but some of them are downright nasty. He'd always get me worried by lying saying Ollie ran off when he was hiding him in a place I didn't know about. He knows how much worried and stressed out those pranks make me, but he says my reaction is priceless and worth the yelling/lashing afterwards. Ollie needed to be taken to the veterinary clinic for a checkup. My husband said he'd handled it. During the second visit to get the results, I received a call from my husband, and his voice sounded like he wasn't okay. I asked what was wrong. I got really worried after he said it was about Ollie. I was starting to shake. I kept asking what was going on, and he told me that Ollie's been diagnosed with cancer. He said he wanted me to come over to the clinic as soon as possible because Ollie was with a vet. I couldn't stand. I started asking, is that why Ollie lost weight lately and such? I rushed to the clinic and found my husband standing near the entrance with Ollie. First thing I noticed was him laughing hysterically, telling me that I really bought into his lie. I was confused, so he said it was just a prank. Ollie's perfectly healthy and handed me the results to check. After I checked, I lost it. I lashed out at him. Not gonna lie, I called him awful names, and his face suddenly turned red like he didn't expect me to react that way. He argued that I made it a big deal. Obviously, it was being mean to him over a prank that didn't even last an hour. I kept lashing out and didn't give him a chance to keep talking. Then I took Ollie and the keys and left. I arrived to the clinic in a taxi. I left him at the clinic while me and Ollie went home by car. 3 hours later, he came back and was upset. He usually laughs even in serious situations, but this time it didn't. He argued that I shouldn't have left him like that, and that I overreacted. Said he was trying to make good memories to look back on and laugh at, but I was unnecessarily overreacting. He stopped talking after that. Just wanted to mention that this started months after his father's passing. His family said he never mentions his dad, nor keep anything of his, although they were very close. I never met his father, but they told me he wasn't suffering from anything, and his death was sudden, and my husband had a hard time processing it. This could be the reason for his behavior. Not the a-hole. This isn't a prank. This is abuse. He wanted you to feel like your beloved dog was dying. For his amusement. He laughed at your pain. Even him hiding the dog and saying he ran away is unbelievably cruel. His words aside, I think he's jealous of Ollie. Forget leaving him at the clinic. You should consider leaving his lying, cruel butt entirely. Yes, you're right. I don't know why he keeps joking about serious stuff like that. He once lied to his friend group about their friend dying overseas. Half of the group isn't talking to him anymore because he lied about their close friend's death. It scared them, and it was highly inappropriate, but he kept trying to justify that it was a prank. I don't know why he thinks any of this is okay. I've already warned him and told him to not get all involved in his pranks, but it took me to lose my temper to get him to realize that what he's doing was unacceptable. Wow, that's so incredibly out of line, unimaginably cruel, and legitimately disgusting. He said someone died. Why does it do it? Some people have personal issues that manifest as self-destructive tendencies. That's the most generous read on this situation. The other is that he's a sociopath, utterly lacking in empathy and enjoys causing distress. Either way, the why doesn't matter. He doesn't care about his why. He's having fun and enjoying himself causing deep heartbreak and trauma to people. What will it take for you to have enough? Will it take him calling your parents and telling them you died as a prank for the memories? Or maybe he will just tell them that you have cancer. He has a pattern of destructive behavior. It doesn't even sound like he recognizes that much, let alone be willing to change. I'm seriously concerned for you and Ollie. He literally sounds like a monster. The dog you adore ran away. Kidding. No, I actually took it to the vet, and the vet says it has cancer. Not really. Christ, what a nahal. Say this. Sweetie, I apologize for overreacting. I love you. Kidding. Get the hell out. Not nahal. Opie should have told him leaving him at the vet was a prank and he was overreacting. Jesus freaking Christ. I hate people like Opie's husband. Is he 12? Wait, that's offensive to 12 years old. Opie, I'm not issuing any judgments because I'm concerned. Your husband sounds like he's escalating. I would get the dog out of the house if possible. Good memories? That makes my skin crawl. Remember the time you thought your beloved pet was dying? Haha, good times. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.
Update. My husband, 36 male, may have cheated on me, 33 female, with my dead best friend and had an affair baby. Original post. I don't even know where to start. The past 6 months have been an absolute mess, and it only seems to be getting worse. My best friend since elementary school, who I'll call Alice, passed away in February from cancer. She had a 2-year-old daughter who went into the custody of her mom after she passed away, who I'll call Alexis. Last month, Alexis showed up on our doorstep unannounced, telling my husband he needs to take responsibility for his child and either take custody or start finally paying child support. She says that Alice had told her when her daughter was born who the father was, but didn't want anything to do with him. To answer the inevitable, Alice was a traveling nurse and made a lot of money, which is the only reason I can think of for why she didn't go for child support. During this conversation, my husband had the worst panic attack he's ever had, so we had to end the conversation before I could get more details. My husband's story is, I don't even know. He said that Alice's daughter is probably his, but that it isn't what I think. Almost 3 years ago, we threw a large housewarming party as we just moved into our dream home after I finally finished residency and was set to make real money for once. Alice was in town and set to be at the party, but I was called into work before she got there. I didn't get back until after 3 a.m. The party was winding down. My husband was passed out upstairs, and Alice had already left the party, which at the time I did find strange as we hadn't seen each other in months. My husband claims he woke up in the middle of the night to Alice on top of him, but he passed out again before he could say anything. He claims he never told me because he was worried I wouldn't believe him, which I don't know if I do. He showed me some texts he sent his best friend the next day, asking for his advice about him, thinking someone violated him. But if he cheated, he could have had that conversation as evidence, especially since he never said Alice specifically. Ever since the party, he has been very distant with Alice, and after she had her daughter, he would even find excuses not to be around the house when she would visit at all. I don't know if that's because he cheated, or if Alice did actually force herself on him and this was his trauma response. Honestly, Reddit, I don't know what to do. I've known Alice since we were children, and she had never come across as that kind of person. But I've also known my husband for over a decade, and he's not once ever given the inclination of a cheater. He's an attractive guy, and I've seen the looks he gets at the gym, and he's never even given more than a glance. What the heck should I do? How do I figure out what the truth is here, when Alice isn't even around to defend herself? She never even implied she liked my husband, let alone wanted to sleep with him. I told my husband he needs to get a DNA test before anything is decided on the child's part, but in the meantime, he needs to move out while I think about what I'm going to do here. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Wow, OP, that is a mess. Paternity test for sure. The old text the next day sealed it for me. I think your friend took advantage of your husband. Good luck. This is the story of the day for me. I don't know you or your marriage, but I think I would be inclined to believe and support my husband with the few details you've given. Yep, I would 100% give husband benefit of the doubt, especially if there's no DNA test. Would it be any less different if the genders were reversed? Last thing, which do you think she'd take to the grave? That she had an affair with or she violated your husband? I hadn't thought about that actually. Thank you. That's a good point. She always thought I could do better than him, so if it was an affair, you'd think she would have told me on her deathbed at least. Ask yourself if you honestly believe he would send those messages as a possible future defense. Is he the type of man who would proactively build a defense just in case? Based on what you said here, I'm inclined to side with your husband. Men are never taken seriously when assaulted, and marriages end for coming forward. The fact you kicked him out says you would have automatically believed your friend, and just doing that may doom the marriage. I could never forgive my wife for that if I was in his place. If he was assaulted and told you the next day, would you believe him and ever trust him again? Or would you believe your friend? Her actions show she did something wrong, and his actions show he actively avoided her at all costs from that day forward. The type of work he does involved highly in-depth planning for contingencies. If he did cheat, I think he'd be smart enough to plan a defense, even years back. I truthfully don't know if I would have believed him had he told me the next day. I think part of the reason I'm struggling right now is because I only have his side of the story. I spoke to a friend about it, and she suggested that maybe Alice coming over with her daughter was her attempting to get him to come clean, so she wouldn't have to take the blame for their affair all herself. Mini update. After talking with you, I've come to the realization that my husband is being truthful. My best friend violated him. Several people pointed out that with Alice not liking my husband, if it was an affair, she would have told me when she was dying if only to separate us. You're absolutely right. I was there, in the room while she passed. I held her hands for days. We talked about so much. If it was just an affair, she would have told me. But if she assaulted my husband, she wouldn't have said a word. That's the type of thing horrible people take to the grave. I've also come to the realization that I made a terrible mistake asking my husband to leave for a few days while I gathered my thoughts. Not to make excuses, but losing my best friend to cancer, a long cancer fight at that, was brutal. To say that I was devastated wouldn't do it justice. That it happened only 6 months ago, I'm still feeling it every day. So to have this thrown on me, it's like I'm losing her all over again. Either she betrayed me and slept with my husband, or she betrayed me and assaulted my husband. Not only have I lost her, but now I've lost the good memories, an entire lifetime's worth. It was impossible for me to look at him and not also see her, and be struck with the horror and realization of that loss all over again. I felt I needed to be able to break down, grieve, and think without the fresh wave of loss I got every time I saw him. It was wrong of me to ask him to leave. You're right, though, and as of a few minutes ago, I've righted this wrong. I called my husband, I apologized, told him I believe him, and begged him to come home. He'll be here in half an hour at most, and I'm going to support my husband the way I know he would have supported me. I've been an off-and-on Reddit user for several years, and sometimes the advice given on subreddits like these can be a bit hit or miss. But today, you guys did good. You've helped me realize not only that I was wrong, and being stupid at that, but that I was hurting the person that needed me the most. I was selfish. I have no idea what we're going to do as far as the potential daughter is concerned, but I can assure you we'll deal with it together. It's going to take a lot of time and probably a lot of therapy to grieve this new loss. I feel numb now, as though I'll never cry again. My best friend violated my husband, which means she was no friend of mine. She flaunted it, coming to my house, sitting with me and gabbing. She brought her child here, trying to rub it in his face, right in front of me. She tortured the man I loved, and I was an unknowing party to it. I feel sick to my stomach over how many times she came over just to hold it over him. I'm honestly at a loss on how to make that up to him. If you all have any ideas, please feel free to give them to me. I think I'll need all the help I can get. Tomorrow I'm going to take a leave of absence from work, just until we can figure out our next steps and we can get our heads on straight. Thank you, everyone. Now for the full update 7 months later. I've received a lot of messages asking for an update, so I've decided to finally sit down and write one out. As you can imagine, after the mess that was thrust upon us, this update isn't likely to answer any of your questions, only present a few more. I want to start by telling you all that I love and trust my husband. My reaction to ask him for space to think, in retrospect, was wrong, but at the time, I didn't know what to think. It was a combination of losing my best friend again, and also the fear that I was losing my husband that sent me spiraling. Again, it was a mistake to ask him to leave, and I did rectify that in the end. Now for the update. As mentioned in the original post, I did take a leave of absence from work, and we spent a long time just being together, talking, reaffirming our love for one another, and figuring out what to do next. We, of course, spoke with a lawyer, and my husband was very adamant about not having anything to do with the child, but was willing to offer financial support as needed. So we agreed to do a DNA test immediately to prove paternity and then go from there. Didn't know you could buy tests on Amazon, but with only a few weeks processing, it was the easiest path forward since Alexis lives hours away. To everyone's surprise, Alice's daughter is not my husband's. We ended up testing twice, both very, very definitive. The first test we performed ourselves as mentioned, and another after Alexis refused to believe the first test and took my husband to court for child support. For a single second, this whole thing made me second guess if my husband was violated, that this could have been her way of forcing my husband to admit to an affair. But after talking with Alexis, I don't think that was the plan. Alexis says that Alice told her my husband was the father under strict confidence, demanding that she never ever tell me or my husband. We were only ever to be told if Alexis died, before Alice's daughter was old enough to take care of herself, so that she wouldn't end up in foster care. The only reason Alexis came to us then, instead of keeping that secret, is because Alice's life insurance wasn't being released yet, and she was out of options. She also felt I should know my husband and her daughter had had an affair. This all reaffirms in my mind that Alice did rape my husband, with the expectation of getting pregnant with his child. She obviously had other partners at the time, since one of them fathered her daughter, but no one knows who. It's clear to me that Alice believed it was my husband. I did suggest Alexis upload a sample to Ancestry, see if any matches pop up, but as Alice traveled all over for work, I don't know that anything will ever come of that. In truth, I've washed my hands of the situation. Alice did enough damage, and I don't particularly plan to be around for any more. My husband and I have gone through a lot of counseling and will likely continue for a while. This whole situation damaged us both. My husband more obviously, and I don't think we'll fully heal for a very long while. To answer a few questions, no, sadly there isn't a hidden diary or texts to explain what the heck was going on. My husband and I are not getting divorced. He understands why I reacted the way I did and has been strong when I was weak before. I've spent the past 7 months being strong while he was weak, so we're considering the whole thing even. We are still madly in love and plan to be together for a long time still. More on this. No, we will not be adopting Alice's child. If she had been my husband's, we would not have been adopting the child. Ultimately, I thank Reddit for setting me straight. There was a massive outpouring of support and corrective advice. To say I got a slap in the face would be a descriptive but apt way to put it. I needed it then, and I thank you for it. To say that you may have saved my marriage is an understatement. I do, however, have some good news. During my leave of absence, while my husband and I rediscovered what makes us love each other the most, I got pregnant. We're expecting our first baby, a girl, in a little over 3 months, and my husband and I are ecstatic. And no, we will not be naming her after my dead ex-best friend. Was someone here going to suggest naming the baby after Alice? No, right? Anyway, congrats OP. Glad you're free of that mess, healing together, and have such joy to look forward to. No, I don't think anyone here would have suggested it. However, I haven't told anyone what happened to my husband at his insistence, which I agree with. We've done our best to keep the entire thing quiet. My extended friendship circle will find it weird that we don't name our daughter after Alice, considering our friendship and history, but it's definitely not under consideration now. I'm willing to bet she was jealous of your life and, for a minute, wanted to know what it felt like to be you. So she waited for your husband to be in a vulnerable position, intoxicated and passed out, and took her shot. She probably had random partners to either make her feel less guilty about assaulting him or to try and get pregnant and really take a shot at him, make him believe her kid was his, and maybe he'd kick you out and move her in. She probably told her mom it was your husband's child to save face and not have to say she didn't actually know. She probably figured no DNA test would be done, but even if it was, she wouldn't be here for the fallout. She truly was a crappy human being. I'm so happy for you both that it's not his child. It's bad enough she did that to him, but to have to deal with a child on top of it would be horrible. Enjoy your little one. Hopefully you can all put this behind you now. Honestly, I just think she wanted a child. She was sleeping with multiple people after all. What a mess. They're bringing a baby into the mess though, so it's all good. But it's not their mess anymore, and they're healing. It sounds like their relationship is stable. Second story. The other woman's husband gave me a heads up before taking his wife's affair with my husband public. Update 3 years later. Original post. I feel so stupid. My husband is having an affair with a woman from our rowing club. Her husband reached out to me. He is going to divorce her, and he wanted me to know before he files, instead of me finding out from gossip or people talking. He showed me proof of their affair. I've been married to him for 6 years, with him for 9 years, and we have a 3-year-old. My cousin is a divorce lawyer and said one of the other lawyers she works with will represent me for a reduced price. I never thought I would be getting divorced. I just feel so stupid because I had no idea and thought everything between us was great. Edit. I do appreciate the other woman's husband telling me, but there is an age difference of 15 years. He has a child only 9 years younger than me, and he is not my type. We won't be dating or getting married like some of the posts and DMs I am getting have suggested. Now for the top advice before reading the update. The guy was very empathetic in telling you what was going on. I'm so sorry you're going through that, but it's better that you found out than live more years of deception. Later on, you will find someone who respects and values you. He said he is divorcing her on adultery grounds, since if he can prove it, he won't have to pay alimony. With all that being public, he didn't think it was right that I find out that way. I almost feel worse for him because they have been married for 20 years and have an adult son. I can't imagine how it feels to lose such a long marriage. That is an actually decent guy. In the middle of his world being turned inside out, he still has it in him to not only think of someone else, but to take the action of softening the blow to spare them embarrassment. I think you should file on the grounds of adultery as well. Actions have consequences, and it's time the soon-to-be ex-husband found that out. I'll talk to my lawyer about this, but my cousin told me there is no advantage to me doing this, since alimony isn't a concern in our case. Adultery won't affect the settlement or custody. It's just about the alimony. Obviously, though, I will follow my lawyer's advice. Update 3 years later. It's official. I'm divorced. To summarize what happened, my ex-husband had an affair with a woman from our rowing club. I had been married for 6 years, and we had a 3-year-old. We were more acquainted with the other woman's son at first because he was only 9 years younger than us, and we often saw him around the club. I didn't find out myself. The other woman's husband found out, and he was the one who told me about the affair. He said he didn't want me to find out from gossip at the rowing club. I'll be thankful forever that he told me first. Everything was bad enough without me having to find out through gossip. The other woman had been married for 20 years. Her husband was a doctor, and apparently she didn't have a job. Since her husband had proof of the affair, it meant he wouldn't have to pay her any alimony. I found out that in our state, if there's proof you cheated, you legally can't be awarded alimony. That's why the other woman's husband was so focused on getting proof of the affair. He moved to another state after his divorce. In my case, it didn't matter. My ex-husband and I both worked and earned the same amount, so there would be no alimony for either of us. The affair wouldn't change that. Our assets and custody of our child would be split 50-50 between us. In 12 days, I'm moving into a new place and starting a new job. My ex-husband and the other woman said they wanted to get married, but they fell apart and aren't together. He tried to change my mind about the divorce, but we only talk about our child now. I honestly still can't believe this happened to me sometimes.
Date. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my daughter-in-law take my late husband's wedding ring? Original post. I'm a widow in my 60s. My husband passed away 10 years ago and I've kept his wedding ring in a little box with some of his things. It's nothing fancy, just a plain gold band, but it's one of the few things I still have that feels like him. Sometimes when I miss him, I take it out and hold it. It's been a real comfort over the years. My daughter-in-law, Jenna, has always commented on the ring when she visits. She'll say things like, "It's so timeless," or "I'd love to wear something with that kind of history." I thought she was just being nice, but last week, she came right out and asked if she could borrow it for a while. I didn't really know how to respond at first. She said wearing it would help her feel closer to the family and honor my husband. I told her I wasn't comfortable with that. The ring is so personal to me. It's not just something you loan out. It's a part of my memories with him. But Jenna didn't seem to understand. She got upset and said she didn't think I trusted her and that I was being selfish for keeping something so meaningful to our family locked away. She even said it would mean more to her to wear it than for me to just keep it in a box. My son didn't really say much at a time, but later I got a text from Jenna. It was long and emotional. She said she was hurt and that I was treating her like an outsider and that maybe I was too stuck in the past to see how much this would mean to her. She even hinted that I was being controlling, which honestly broke my heart. Now, some other family members are saying I'm overreacting and that is just a ring, but it doesn't feel that way to me. My husband and I were married for 35 years. That ring has been with me through everything. Good times, bad times, raising our kids. I don't want to sound dramatic, but it feels like a piece of him is still with me. I can't imagine letting it out of my sight. I'm starting to wonder if I'm being unreasonable though. Jenna seems to think I'm trying to shut her out, and the last thing I want is to cause tension in the family. I don't know if I should apologize or stick to my decision. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. She's not even related to your husband? Like a child requesting it, I can see. But it's her father-in-law's wedding ring. Lol, she can get lost. She has zero claim to it. Not the a-hole. I really appreciate your support. I've been feeling so conflicted, but it helps to hear that others understand how personal this is to me. I would buy a chain and start wearing it. That way you know where it is. Not the a-hole. WTF? Who are these family members saying your late husband's wedding ring is just another piece of jewelry? That's bananas. Not the a-hole, but your daughter-in-law and any family members encouraging this lunacy are. She was wildly out of line to ask for the ring. This is crazy. Even if it was your son/his son asking, that would be iffy and totally reasonable to say no. The wedding ring was a special symbol between you and your husband. No one else. This is wild. Also, if the ring isn't that big of a deal, then it's not a big deal to wear it. Can't have it both ways to those saying it's not a big deal. Daughter-in-law, while I appreciate that you want to form stronger bonds with our family, this isn't the way to do it. That ring isn't something I would ever loan out or give to anyone else. It is a symbol of my 35-year marriage to the love of my life. It was inappropriate for you to ask for it in the first place, and wildly inappropriate for you to react this way to me saying no. I really can't believe this even has to be said. Damn. Also, I would hide a ring when she or your son is over. Or wear it.
Thank you for understanding. It's been such a hard thing to navigate. I feel awful for saying no to Jenna because I really do want her to feel part of the family, and I didn't mean to hurt her feelings. It's just that the ring is so deeply personal to me. Every time I look at it, it reminds me of my husband and all the years we spent together. I've been trying to think of ways to make it up to her or help her feel more connected, but I just don't know what to do without giving up something that means so much to me. I feel stuck, and the last thing I want is to cause tension. I didn't expect this to become such a big issue. It's honestly been weighing on me. Now for the update. Something really weird just happened, and I don't even know what to think. You know how Jenna's been acting strangely lately? The whole ring thing, getting rid of my late husband's belongings, and being obsessed with his ring? Well, let me tell you, this situation just got worse. Really, really bad. At 6 a.m. this morning, my son called me. He said he was worried about Jenna because she wasn't feeling well. He asked me to come over and sit with her. Honestly, I wasn't in the mood to deal with it and didn't even want to go, but since he asked, I figured I should do my part. When I got there, she was lying on the couch looking pale and shaky. She didn't look like herself at all. I immediately suggested taking her to the ER, but she snapped at me and insisted she was fine. When I told her she needed to see a doctor, she screamed at me to leave her alone and get out. She was clearly angry and didn't want me there at all. But I thought maybe I could at least help her feel more comfortable. I told her I was going to use the bathroom and then I'll leave her be. While washing my hands, I noticed the guest bedroom door was open. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I figured maybe I could grab her an extra pillow or something. She didn't seem to be resting well and could probably use something more comfortable. I wasn't trying to snoop, I was just trying to be helpful. But when I pulled a pillow down from the top shelf of the closet, I noticed something behind it, a box I'd never seen before. It looked out of place, like it had been shoved there or hidden. At first, I didn't recognize the box, but when I opened it, well, you're not going to believe what I found inside. First, there was my husband's old fishing hat. I thought we'd already gotten rid of all his old stuff when they helped me clean the house, but here it was, tucked away. Then there were some other random things. His old scratched-up sunglasses and a pack of Black & Milds. I'm certain I didn't buy them, but I know my husband used to smoke them occasionally. At the bottom of the box was a creased Polaroid photo. It was a picture of Jenna. She looked like she was in her late teens or early 20s, standing in front of a lighthouse I immediately recognized. It was a place we used to visit as a family, years before Jenna and my son even met. I have no idea why it was in there with my husband's things. I'm sitting here scratching my head because this is so confusing. Why would you keep these old things? And what is that picture doing in there? Jenna screamed at me to leave from the other room, and I was so startled that I put everything back and just left. I don't want her to find out I was snooping, but I can't stop thinking about it. I'm shaking. What just happened? That girl is your husband's affair child. I can't prove it, but my intuition strongly says no. There has to be another explanation. I'm working on figuring it all out as we speak. This is a seriously twisted update. The fact that Jenna has a picture of herself as a child in front of a lighthouse where you and your husband took your family is far too coincidental. The fact that Jenna is so obsessed with your husband's belongings and has this picture in a box of his secretly hidden items is very troubling. Is there any possibility that your husband and Jenna had a previous relationship before she met your son? Could he have dated her mother and been a father figure to her? Is it possible that your husband is her father? At this point, I would seriously wonder about the current relationship she has with your son and how random or coincidental their first meeting really was. All of this is adding up to some seriously twisted stalker vibes. If Jenna suspects you've discovered her secret box, she may try to relocate the evidence. Jenna sounds incredibly unstable, and I'm guessing your son will ignore your concerns unless you can gather more information or documentation about Jenna, your husband, and their past. For the sake of your son and the rest of your family, I suggest you hire a professional investigator to uncover what you might not be able to figure out on your own. It's all so unsettling. The picture by the lighthouse really got to me. It's such a personal memory for our family.
People are saying my husband might have had some connection to Jenna's mother, but I just can't believe he'd stoop so low. All I know about her mother is that Jenna had a rough childhood, grew up in foster care, and isn't in contact with her. We've never even met her. The idea that Jenna somehow forced her way into my son's life feels too strange to ignore, but I don't even know where to start. Part of me doesn't want to dig deeper, but at this point, I might not have a choice. I hope she doesn't know I snooped or found her box, but now I'm worried she might move it, which is another reason I'm so unsure of how to confront the situation. Regardless of the truth, I can't imagine a scenario where Jenna would come clean, at least not in a calm and kind way. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that my wife isn't spoiled, her husband just doesn't like her? I, 34 male, am married to the love of my life, Michelle, 31 female, and we've been together for 13 years, married for 11. My wife is chronically ill, and as soon as it was financially feasible, I suggested she quit her job and stay at home. Since then, I've become quite successful in my career, and I've encouraged her to get out of the house to pursue hobbies we didn't have the money, time, or energy for before. We are incredibly happy with the direction our life is going, and Michelle's mental and physical health has never been better. We split household chores according to how Michelle is feeling. On her good days, she'll usually do just about everything that needs to be done before I even get home. On days when her illness is acting up, a lot of it falls on me. I honestly don't mind. There isn't a whole lot for us to do on a day-to-day basis, besides laundry, dishes, cooking, and tending to the dogs. We have a housekeeper who comes once a week and handles most of the major stuff. I enjoy cooking, and on days she can't do anything, I typically only have about an hour's worth of chores. I also just generally like to spoil her and bring her home gifts and trinkets, encourage and financially support her hobbies, and take her on 2 weekly dates and vacations. I like seeing her happy. My sister, Karen, cannot wrap her head around this concept. Her husband, Bill, works in the same industry as me, making similar money. However, Bill does not treat Karen the way I treat Michelle. Bill won't let Karen be a stay-at-home wife. She frequently mentions how he rarely takes her on dates or brings her home flowers or gifts, how he isn't generous with his money, and how it should be their money. Despite this, she has always criticized my wife for being spoiled. Anytime I mention what my wife happens to be up to that day, example in a cooking class, golfing, painting, my sister gets huffy and makes comments about how lucky my wife must feel and how surprised she is that Michelle stays busy. If I mention ever having to do a single bit of housework, Karen talks about how selfish Michelle is for not doing her part, saying that cooking breakfast is the least my wife could do. If I tell my mother about the emerald earrings I bought Michelle, the spa day I sent her on, or the new recipe I'm making for her tomorrow, Karen makes comments about how our relationship isn't equal and that I'm being taken advantage of. Recently, at a family dinner that neither Bill nor my wife attended, I casually mentioned to my mom that after dinner, I needed to run a load of laundry so I'd have clean pants for work the next day. My wife was having a bad flare-up and had been confined to the couch. My sister scoffed and loudly said, "If she wasn't so spoiled, you wouldn't be coming home to a bunch of chores." I responded with, "My wife isn't spoiled. Your husband just doesn't like you," and asked her why she's forced to work if her husband makes as much as me. She got mad. My parents were irritated and I was asked to leave the dinner. My sister has since sent me texts calling me names, and my mother has reached out saying that what I said was insensitive and asking me to apologize. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Your sister sounds bitter because her husband doesn't treat her with the same love and care you show your wife. And instead of addressing that, she's taking it out on you and Michelle. Honestly, she's projecting her frustrations. And while your comment was spicy, it seems like it hit a nerve because there's truth to it. She needs to stop comparing her marriage to yours and work on her own issues with Bill. You're just out here loving your wife and doing what works for your relationship. Chronic illness is not a choice. It's insensitive of your sister to dismiss your wife's health struggles and imply that she's selfish for not contributing equally to household chores when she's experiencing a flare-up. Not the a-hole for being honest. She's just jealous that you treat your wife the way she wants her husband to treat her.
What I don't understand is why they're mad at you when she's the one constantly talking smack about your wife. Maybe they need to step back and think about why they're okay with how your sister speaks to you but not okay with what you said. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad's parents to take care of dad's affair baby if he needs a babysitter because I won't? My parents are getting a divorce. 6 months ago, we found out dad has a kid of 4 with someone else. Dad was cheating, probably a lot and with a ton of women if his reaction was anything to go by. My mom kicked him out, the house is hers, and said his kid wasn't allowed to live with us. Dad ended up moving into a place owned by his parents. They're wealthy. I, 16 male, don't see him. My siblings, 13 female, 12 male, saw him once, but the judge said we didn't have to go and see him. We don't want to see him, so we don't go. My dad's parents were never very present in our lives, but now they're acting like we were once close, and that we're punishing the whole family for what dad did. It started when dad texted me and asked me to babysit for him. I can't block him yet while court stuff is still ongoing. Apparently, a judge wouldn't look at that in a good light and could change the custody stuff if we ever sever all ties right now. Having his number unblocked is enough. I ignored his texts, and then his parents showed up at our house and told me I needed to babysit my sibling and spend time with them because we'll be family forever. I said no. They tried to argue, but I said I won't be in the kid's life, so there's no forever. I said I don't want to know the kid, or dad, or any of them. Then mom made them leave. Dad texted some more. We saved these messages and mom's lawyer documented them, but I ignored those too. Then his parents tried again, and I told them I don't want to take care of dad's affair baby. They can since they've got money and they want this kid. I said I don't, and that's not changing. They told me the child is innocent, and I said I know, but I don't go out of my way to get to know innocent kids I see in the world. And I'm not going to do it for this one either. They told me I'm still punishing a child who's my sibling, and that the kid will grow up wondering why their 3 half-siblings won't even speak to them. They also said I'd be paid for babysitting, which makes my stubbornness even worse. Am I the a-hole? Nope. Not the a-hole. You've got freedom of choice, and you've made your choice. You did great telling your grandparents to watch the kid themselves if they're so bent out of shape about it. Next time, you should also tell them that it's not your fault or responsibility that their son threw his nice life in the toilet, and it's actually their fault for not raising him with better morals. Not the a-hole. They're right, the kid is innocent, but it seems they forgot you're a kid too. Not the a-hole. And in what way is the 16-year-old not babysitting punishing the kid? Ridiculous. It's punishing the adults who don't want to watch the kid either. They care about themselves, not opiate siblings. Hopefully when the court stuff is over, the kids can all block their sperm donor and his parents and have peaceful lives going forward. Not the a-hole. Exactly as you say, this kid is a stranger to you, and innocent or not, is not part of your life. You have the right to decide who you have in your life, and it's perfectly reasonable not to want to have anything to do with this child. Opie and their full siblings are innocent too. They're not the ones who cheated on their spouse, but they're still being punished by having their family ripped apart. Forcing them to do extra chores, babysitting, is punishing them for something they didn't do,